Good morning. I would like to call today's meeting for Friday, November 18th to order. Now, the agenda is still, we've got the old agendas and we've got the new agendas. So this was properly posted in compliance with the open meeting law. The first item is roll. Could I ask the clerk to take the roll, please?
Good morning, Governor Steve Sistomak.
Here.
Lieutenant Governor Lisa Conlon-Burkett.
Here.
Controller Catherine Byrne.
Here.
Member Virginia Valentine.
Here.
Member Stephen Esquadra. Oh, Steve's not here today. Member Justin Kell.
Here.
Member Gary Perea.
Here.
Governor, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. I'll close item number one, the roll call, and move on to item number 2, public comment. This is the first time set aside for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board on any item on today's agenda, items that are on the agenda, please step forward, identify yourself for the record, and comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anybody in Las Vegas? People, no. Do we have anybody in Carson City?
We don't have anyone signed up for public comment in Carson City, Governor.
Thank you. Do we have any written or telephonic public comment?
Yes, Governor. We received 46 items of public comment virtually, which we shared with the board last night. Of those, 2 were regarding item number 20, supporting pay increases. 1 was regarding item 19, our landscape and aesthetics and trees, and 43 were regarding our US 50 project in the Tahoe Basin. 5 were in favor of the direction we're going, 39 are opposed.
Very good, thank you. And please make those part of the record. I'll close public comment, move on to item number 3, the director's report.
Good morning, members of the board. I am happy to be providing the report today. The first item that I wanted to talk about, it's in the safety space, but it's a little bit different. I wanted to recognize and acknowledge and congratulate our Assistant Director of Planning, Sandra Rosenberg, for being awarded the Transportation Professional of the Year Award at the 2022 Nevada Traffic Safety Awards for her significant contributions in reducing traffic-related fatalities and serious injuries in Nevada. Sandra has been with NDOT for 14 years and in her current role for 8 years, where she oversees the department's planning program, safety engineering, and other efforts. We're grateful to have her as a key member of our executive team, working tirelessly on many of the critical traffic safety issues we experience across the state. So congratulations to Sandra. Yeah, all right. So let's talk about statistics and some of the things that we're doing to combat those statistics. So through November 7th of this year, we have seen an overall statewide fatality decrease of nearly 3% compared to the last time last year. Even though fatalities are down almost 3%, there have been still tragically 312 traffic deaths, and those reasons of concerns continue to be impairment and speeding. We've actually seen 2 counties, Pershing and Lander, where there's been a 400% increase in fatalities. I'll note they generally don't have very many, so it's easy to get a 400%, but 400% is significant. And we've seen across the state a 3% increase in unrestrained fatalities. I mean, that's people that means they weren't wearing their seatbelt. We know how to fix this. I mean, as long as I've been around, seatbelts have been in cars, and yeah, so we know how to fix it. We just need to figure out how to make sure our partners and the people on the road comply and do the things that keep them safe. One of the things we're doing, as I mentioned before, is the local road safety plans, and those are available. We're working with our local partners, both urban and rural partners. If anyone's interested of the counties or local agencies and want to work with us, we want to work and help them develop their local road safety plans. And if you've been up north in the last 2 weeks, winter is here, there. Down here, it's cooler. I guess this is kind of our version of winter. So as we start to see winter coming in, I wanted to just talk about some of how we prepare for inclement weather across the state. Our NDOT maintenance professionals perform nearly 75 different types of work throughout the year, from snow, ice, and debris removal to roadway patching, sweeping, slope enhancements, and more. I remember around this time last year when we discovered on Mount Rose a sinkhole, and it was like an emergency fix, and we had to do it because we were worried about temperatures dropping, we wouldn't be able to pave. And so our team is working all the time to make sure that the roads are open, that they're safe to traverse, and constantly fixing things that happen to the roads. As we've been communicating, our vacancy rate is still at record levels, about 20% in southern Nevada, 34% in northwestern Nevada, where storms are the most extreme. And 34%, that doesn't reflect that some of our crews are at half staff. I mean, some are at half staff and some are higher than that. But we are doing what we can to hire temporary winter maintenance workers across the state to help with plowing, anti-icing, highway emergency response. I'll note that when we have major storm events, to the extent that we are able to prepare for it, we do all hands on deck, and our team, our district engineer Mario here in District 1 has sent team members from Southern Nevada up to the Reno-Carson area to make sure that they have the assistance they need. So we flex statewide if needed. We don't always have the opportunity to do that because sometimes the storms hit the whole state and sometimes we just don't have enough notice. But as we prepare for winter, we want to remind drivers that now's the time to prep themselves for winter travels. And some of those tips are pack a winter driving safety kit that includes an ice scraper, snow shovel, jumper cables, flashlight, small bag of sand or cat litter for traction, first aid supplies, extra medication if needed, water, non-perishable food, extra winter clothes and a blanket, extra batteries, chargers for communication if needed. Avoid driving in severe weather whenever possible. If you have to travel, check weather and road conditions by downloading our 511 app that's recently been updated. You can also dial 511 or log on to nvroads.com. You know, as I talk about this here in Southern Nevada, I think about, I had dinner with some friends a month or two ago, and we were talking about last Christmas and how incredible that snow event was up in Northern Nevada. And they were telling me that they had headed to, I think, Big Bear, Southern Nevadans. They'd gone to Big Bear for that weekend and almost got stuck and stranded in a winter storm event. And so that's why it's so important that we talk about it here in Southern Nevada, because we go places too, right? Whether we go to Utah, whether we go to California, whether we just go up to Mount Charleston, we can also get ourselves in trouble. So it's important to remember to prepare our vehicles and ourselves for winter driving conditions. And then one other thing that's not actually like formally in my notes, but I recently heard a story about one of our team members. Our team members, they go above and beyond even when they're not on duty. Over Veterans Weekend, one of our team members in District 1 out in the Tonopah area was getting ready to go hunting and meet some friends, and they were in the right place at the right time, saw a crash. He ran in and helped 4 occupants from the vehicle get out of the vehicle before it burst into flames. They care. They do what's needed, and it doesn't matter if they're working or not. They know how to respond and keep our roads open. So just thought I'd share that. He didn't want me to say anything, so I just excluded his name. So he knows who he is, and we are thankful for him doing what it takes to keep everyone safe on the roads, regardless of if he's getting paid for it. All right, so this week is Crash Responder Week, and we're wrapping it up. There are approximately 50,000 crashes reported in Nevada roads every year, and for every minute a freeway lane is blocked, the resulting traffic congestion can take 4 or more minutes to clear. So responding together is critically important. And when I say together, I mean it's responding with everyone that's involved: law enforcement, fire, public works, EMS, as well as private towing and hazardous material responders. And in 2008, we founded our first traffic incident management coalition here in Southern Nevada. Since that time, we've developed regional coalitions statewide with 74% of all Nevada incident responders trained in safe, quick clearance of traffic incidents. And I should note that the longer something is closed, the higher the probability of a secondary collision. And those also can be fatal. So we want to clear them as fast as possible. Just this year, we trained nearly 600 first responders in traffic incident safety. And this shows one of the recent trainings held in Sparks in conjunction with our annual Traffic Safety Summit. I'm going to move on to wrong way driving because I got a lot to talk about today. So wrong way driving, another thing that we're doing. So I've been talking about safety for almost 4 years now, and we've really been now trying to lean into, well, what's NDOT doing to make sure that the roads are safe? So I have a few things today. The next one is wrong way driver crashes. In Nevada, wrong way driver crashes result in about 5 to 6 deaths per year. So that's about 2% of our annual fatalities. And that's not as high, but whenever there's a wrong way driver, the probability of that crash being severe or fatal is much higher. So to the extent that we can prevent that, we want to. In 2016, we received approval through federal highways for an experimental installation of red rectangular rapid flashing beacons at some of our pre-approved interstate ramps. And that's the things on the top and the bottom of that wrong way sign. So we have wrong way signs on all of our ramps, but in 16, we got pilot approval to do the additional red flashing beacons. Since that time, with the systems detected and led to the successful turnaround of 147 out of 189 wrong way drivers. 78% of the drivers corrected when the flashing beacons went on. So we've received approval to install those further across the state. And so next slide, please, Darren. With the success that we've seen, we've gone through and prioritized across our interchanges, those interchanges that are most necessary to include this additional technology. And we're going to start addressing those and installing those in the areas that already have existing infrastructure, conduit, pole boxes to accommodate the systems. This winter, we plan to invest $2 million to install similar detection systems at ramps, 580 ramps between Reno and Carson. And in Vegas, we'll be doing the same at I-15 at the Star Interchange, as well as 95 at Durango, Kyle Canyon, and Sky Canyon. At these locations, we'll also incorporate new technologies, including radar and multiple sets of closed circuit cameras for detection, pan, tilt, zoom capability, along with illuminators to provide light for the cameras to help further improve the level of success. Just making sure, you know, it's interesting, wrong way drivers are frequently impaired. And so to the extent that we can just really blast and say, hey, you guys are doing something wrong, that's what we're going to do. And then with the additional camera technology, it will help our first responders get to where they need to be faster and help combat the wrong way driver and turn them around, stop them or turn them around. So working in that space. And then this one, it's not as much in safety. It is a little bit safety. HOVs, you know, one of the things about the HOV lanes is it provides a critical path for responders to get to crashes. And so that's one of the things we're monitoring as we're entering into the 18-month study of whether or not the reduced hours of operations on the HOV lanes will continue. As I mentioned in October, the HOV lanes are in operation now daily from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., 2+ in the car. Anyone can use them from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. And I just want to shout out to a few of our team members who quickly changed the signage to reflect the new hours. And that team was Chris Rickerson, Justin Lease, Vernon Fox, Efren Magana, Douglas Westbrook, Jose Beltran, Jack Chatterson, Hector Villalobos, Sergio Hernandez, Casey Sylvester, Samuel Kofi Ahimandi, Ryan Clark, David Rosenberg, Todd Brooks, and Eric Rua. So our team got out there, they changed the signs, and they made sure they went into effect over just a quick weekend when we had a Knights game and everything else. So new hours are in effect, just as a reminder. All right, let's get to some project updates. The first project I wanted to update the board on is our US 50 East Shore Corridor Study. If you've driven that corridor, you are familiar with US 50 East Shore, that's Tahoe Basin, just north of South Lake. If you've driven it, you're familiar with the increased traffic and safety concerns on the roadway. Average daily peak season traffic has grown from 15,000 vehicles in 2014 to nearly 20,000 in 2019. As you can see from the slide, speed is a major concern. It's posted at 45 and people are often traveling 60 or more. And during a recent 4-year period, crash rates were more than 50% higher on US 50 between Elks Point Road and Glenbrook Drive when compared to similar highways. So last year we launched our East Corridor Study to US 50 East Shore Corridor Study to paint a blueprint for the future of the highway. Through the study, we've evaluated US 50 between Spooner Summit and the Nevada-California border at State Line. We've gathered stakeholder and public feedback through 3 rounds of public listening tours. The listening sessions gathered feedback on the highway, including community concerns with speeding, on-highway parking, access to and from the highway, and more. The plan has been developed thus far. It feels very final already. The plan has been developed. It's not final. We're still working on it, but in this process, we are working cooperatively with the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, Tahoe Transportation District, United States Forest Service, Douglas County, and other stakeholders. There have been 46 meetings and almost 700 public stakeholder interactions to gather input. So we are really working to engage with the community that lives there and works there. The stakeholder community feedback has been used to develop initial, very high-level concepts, and those have started to be shared out with the public. I should note, like we said, we are still listening, we are still incorporating comments. We received 46 comments from the community, or 43 comments from the community on this in advance of this meeting. So moving forward, just where it's sort of looking like it's at, and I say I'm hesitating on all of this because we're still working through it. In some areas, we propose to reconfigure the highway to 2 lanes with new turn lanes. So right now it's 4 lanes across most of it, and we're looking at changing one of those lanes to a turn lane. Some cases we might convert other space as well to slow everyone down and make it safer for making those turns. And those locations where we're doing that is in 3 high crash constrained locations. This will help provide safer access to and from the road. In those locations, there's a lot of driveways and side streets, and it will also help bring travel speeds down closer to the existing speed limit. We proposed those significant changes only in about 3 small segments, about 1/4 of the total corridor length. And our modeling does show that with the reconfiguration, it will take travelers 2 minutes more to travel through the full 13-minute corridor, but that's not because we're slowing them down as much as we're slowing them to conform to the speed limit that's posted. Strategies are still going to be shared out and considered and prioritized as part of future projects. And just an awareness, in the coming 5 years, we also plan to repave approximately 13 miles of that corridor. And so we're aiming to try and have some of these projects that we can do with striping done before we get to the paving piece within the next 5 years. So still listening to the community, still open, still sharing the feedback and trying to figure out how do we best achieve the goal, which is ensuring safety on this corridor that is proven to be one of the least safe in the state. All right, I-515 Charleston interchange. I've been talking about this. I'm probably going to talk about this every meeting just so everyone knows what's going on. Long-term restrictions started in late October on Charleston. Charleston is now reduced to 2 lanes in either direction east of 515. And that restriction will last approximately 11 months into September of next year. We're working on the north side of Charleston to relocate utilities and widen the road. We also expect some multi-week ramp closures coming up after the new year. For anyone who's interested, i515charleston.com for more details. Yesterday was a big day. We waved the checkered flag at I-15 and 215 North Interchange. It's not quite done, but it's almost done. So we have already earlier this year, the southbound I-15 to westbound 215 ramp opened yesterday. The northbound I-15 to westbound 215 ramp opened. That's one of the major corridors, and it's a flyover, so it was critical to get that one open. In the coming several weeks, I think by mid-December, we'll have the final 2, which are the eastbound 215 to north and southbound I-15 ramps will be opening here in December. I should note that this project, like I said, 4 flyover ramps, more connectivity to the local roads. We restored connections and made sure that people can get there. It's a booming part of the state. There has been so much development out there, so it's been critical. The project has supported in the last 2 years over 1,800 job years, $135 million in project costs. It's a good project to really serve our community and the economic development moving forward in that region. I-15 Tropicana. This one we're just going to keep talking about for next several years. Most impactful work is right now is southbound I-15 between Flamingo and Trop. If you've driven it, you know it. We have reduced lanes for work on the shoulder. We're also working on I-15 on Dean Martin Drive and on Tropicana, which is required west of I-15, which is required some overnight lane closures. Big impact for the lane has also been the lane reduction on the ramp from the 215 to northbound I-15, where we're installing infrastructure for some new active traffic management signs. And that work will be done November 23rd. But the biggest impacts, as we've been talking about, are right around the corner when we take down the north half of the bridge. I'm looking at the end of January, early February, the north half of the Tropicana Bridge will come down. So now is the time to start preparing. We're urging everyone who drives that area to sign up for email alerts at i15trop.com or download the free I-15Trop app to receive push alerts and notifications when things are changing. We're still expected to have substantial completion by the end of 2024 with closeout work on Tropicana through mid-2025. Get the app, starting to get real on that project. So I-15 South project.
I've got a question on that one.
Yeah,
Before
sorry.
we move on, please. What is the time deadline? Because I'm still getting comments on the drop interchange to make an adjustment.
For a potential pause. So it depends on which level of pause we wanted to do. If we're only looking at a shorter term pause between before the Formula One to the end of the Super Bowl, we have a little bit of time to make that decision. But we do need to make that decision hopefully by the end of the year so they can plan and reschedule their teams if they need to.
Okay. Thank you.
I-15 South project. So I've been talking a lot about the Tropicana project, but we have another project right around the corner. The project, this particular project, as you can see on the exhibit, I can't even read that closely, is from Warm Springs to Sloan. It's a 9-mile stretch of I-15. This project will include additional lanes, repaving, restriping, new sound walls, and the extension of HOV lanes to St. Rose Parkway. The total estimated construction cost for this project is $74 million. Earlier this month, we held a public in-person meeting and we had a virtual meeting that concluded yesterday on the project. We've received dozens of great comments and questions, and we encourage the public to get any last-minute comments in, well, today, that was yesterday. Construction on the project is expected to start summer of 2023, so Warm Springs to Sloan will start summer of 2023 and is expected to wrap up in 2025. It's a little scary thinking about both of those projects going on at the same time, but I'm also thinking when 2025 comes around, we're going to be just like, whoo, amazing roads, right? So, and we need that additional capacity in I-15 South. So we're excited about being able to deliver that coming up. Downtown Access, my last project update, Downtown Access project. We have begun our next phase of outreach focused on gathering additional input from residents and business owners immediately adjacent to the project area. This project will be one of the largest, most impactful projects ever undertaken in the Las Vegas Valley and the state. And we are committed to making sure that it benefits those who live and work in the surrounding community as well as those who drive. When we develop these projects, we need to think about how it impacts those who live right next to the interstate. So over the next few months, our team will embark on expanded outreach initiatives, including, they opened on Monday, a new neighborhood project office. It is in the newly renovated East Las Vegas Community Center at Eastern and Stewart, where our team will be there to answer questions. They'll host events and really aim to engage with that local community. As they do that, we're also looking at formally modifying our project's purpose and need statement to really reaffirm the community's needs as a fundamental component of any proposed alternatives. Based on the revised objective and feedback gathered during the outreach process, we will modify the design alternatives accordingly. So we don't know what we'll hear from the community. We did a lot before, but we realized we need to do some more. So based on their feedback, we'll adjust further if needed. And then last but not least, on this agenda, this is a big agenda for the month, 1,456 job years will be supported based off of your approval of the contracts and agreements on this agenda. So that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the director from the board members?
I do, Governors, is Catherine Byrne, Controller. About the workforce and the job years, can we get a breakdown of what's north and south?
Oh yeah, I think I might actually have that here. Hold on. I have it in my briefing memo. So that is broken out into, of those 1,400 jobs, 500 will be in District 1, which is roughly south of Tonopah and further south. 500 will be in District 1. Wow, it's almost completely third. So 506 will be in District 2, that's western, northwestern Nevada, and 431 will be in District 3, that's northeastern Nevada.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Hearing and seeing none, we'll close that agenda item, move on to item number 4, the consent agenda item, which will encompass items number 4 through 16. Does anyone want to take any of those items separately? Nope. Okay, do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Governor, I'll move to
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
17.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve items number 4 through 16 inclusive. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 in one motion. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, item number 17, consideration approval of design build procurement for the Henderson interchange project.
Governor Nick Johnson, Chief of our Project Management Division, is going to do a brief presentation on items 17 and 18. It corresponds to both of those items. Nick?
Good morning, Governor and board members. For the record, Nick Johnson, NDOT Project Management. And this morning, like Director Swallow mentioned, I'm going to give you a very brief presentation on our Henderson interchange projects, which are for items 17 and 18 on this morning's agenda. So with that, I'll just jump into some quick background about the project. The Henderson interchange is a significant system interchange in southern Nevada that serves a junction of I-11, the I-15, or the 515, excuse me, the Clark County 215 to the west, and Lake Mead Parkway to the east. And as many of us are aware, with the tremendous growth the Las Vegas Valley has experienced over the years and still currently, the demand on the system has far exceeded the capabilities and capacities of this interchange, requiring improvements and upgrades. As such, our goals for this project are to address that demand, not only for now, but well into the future, but more importantly, to resolve some of the roadway deficiencies we see out there, improve the safety of the system interchange for a motorist traveling through the interchange on a daily basis. Recognizing this, a few years back, the city of Henderson and the department staff came together and started looking at options and alternatives to address some of these needs. With the results and the efforts that they put into that, the department quickly moved forward with the NEPA process for this interchange. And I'm happy to say that last month we received approval from the Federal Highway Administration on our NEPA study. So this allows us to take the next step in delivering this project. Now, this is a very large project, a major project, estimated to be anywhere from $365 to $400 million. So the graphic that you see up here are the proposed improvements of the new interchange. It's a unique design. It's a crossover style interchange, which provides more direct connections between the major interstate movements, allowing the traffic to get through more efficiently and safely between the interstates. We'll also be providing or reconnecting some local access through the interchange between Lake Mead Parkway and Gibson Road. And then within the entire footprint of the project, there are approximately 27 existing bridge structures. We will be maintaining, rehabilitating, and widening 22 of them, demolishing 5, and building 11 new structures. So considering the challenges with all the construction of bridges, as well as maintaining traffic during construction, our team got together and went through our project delivery selection process and determined that the design build delivery method is the most efficient way to deliver this project. And that leads me to our last slide here, the 2 items for the board's consideration of approval today. The first, agenda item number 17, is approval of the design build, or for the department to move forward with a design build procurement for the project. This follows our Pioneer program and NRS 408 for the design build section. Also is the approval of the stipend amount of $420,000 to the unsuccessful responsive proposers that participate in the procurement. And then the second agenda item for consideration this morning is a service provider agreement for the CA group to assist the department in development of the procurement docs, assist with the procurement and evaluation, and then ultimately the development of the conformed contract for the best value proposer. Now, if both of these items are approved this morning, the team will get started right away with the goal of starting the design build procurement in the spring of 2023, and then ultimately coming back to the board early in 2024 with a recommendation for the apparent best value proposer. And Governor, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Excuse me, Member Kalb, I believe you guys, your room is muted. We can't hear you.
Parks and City.
Randy knows this stuff. What the world did you see?
Wow. I don't know where to look.
Can you hear us now, Darren?
Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay.
Good job,
Did
Randy.
hear you.
Muted the whole meeting. No.
So, I don't know where we lost each other, but I was talking about the design build process, and on the Tropicana project, Las Vegas Paving had brought up a complaint about the way that the process went through, and then they met with NDOT. And my understanding is that we revised the process for design build, or we came to agreement. That's what's being used on this contract going forward, is my question.
We did meet, and I think ultimately, I mean, we were able to make a determination to move forward. I'm not sure what process changes they're referring to, but generally our process has still stayed the same.
Governor, after Nick replied, we didn't hear anything that was said.
Member Valentine was providing some clarification.
They had a sidebar conversation.
Okay, good. And I would offer also, if necessary in this process, before we start this new procurement, we can follow up with Las Vegas Paving to readdress their concerns.
Motion on items number 17 and 18.
I'll motion to approve items 17 and 18.
We have a motion for approval on items number 17 and 18. We're taking these together. Is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 19, informational item presentation, department's landscape and aesthetic master plan and trees in our right-of-way.
Members of the board, Deputy Director Darren Tedford of Project Delivery will do the next two presentations.
Good morning, thank you. This presentation is in response to the comments made during the September board meeting regarding trees within our right-of-way and the concern for the number of trees dying and appearing in poor health. The department established a statewide landscape and aesthetics master plan in 2002, and it has been updating it periodically since. This master plan establishes themes and conceptual designs for the various regions of our state. Included in this design is an intentional use of trees for many reasons. Trees are an important asset to our communities, which also benefit NDOT right-of-way in many ways. Trees improve the air quality by filtering out harmful particulates. They improve water quality by holding soil in place, reducing erosion. Trees cool down our overheated urban centers, and they sequester carbon within their trunks, branches, and root systems. Trees inside and outside of the right-of-way can improve quality of life for our residents and visitors. We do have our challenges trying to keep trees alive and healthy in a challenging environment, such as along a highway or within an interchange area. We've incurred vandalism where irrigation controllers are stolen, water lines are cut for drinking purposes, valve boxes are broken into to access wire, and the trees themselves are just generally hacked at. Another challenge we have is limited team members. Even when fully staffed, it's difficult to properly care for all the landscaped areas of our rights-of-way. In addition, an invasive bark beetle is causing damage to pine trees in the Las Vegas Valley. This is also a problem in the Mount Charleston area, as well as the mountains of Southern California. Aging irrigation systems that no longer operate automatically and need to be run manually lead to a waste of water when trees are flooded, or unhealthy trees when too little water is used. We are making strides forward to improve the condition of landscape areas in our state right-of-way. At our upcoming project covering the west half of Summerlin Parkway, we're replacing the irrigation controllers and making sure the system is operating effectively. Watering times will be controlled from the district office, and an alert is given if there are any breaks in the water lines. We're also removing dead trees and planting new ones. On the eastern end of Summerlin, we will remove the dead pine trees and design a new water efficient system, planting new trees which are more drought and insect resistant. For the upcoming project on 515 at Charleston, we're updating the irrigation system, removing dying and dead trees, and planting 164 new trees. The entire interchange will receive a beautification effort with decorative rock, painted structures, and art. On another project along 515 near Chaparral High School, which was addressed in public comment, new trees will be planted along the multi-use trail directly adjacent to the high school. We have some good news on the front of landscape maintenance. We have a new service provider agreement, which allows us to employ a private contracting company to help augment the NDOT maintenance staff. That will bring desperately needed help to the District 1 for landscape maintenance. In addition, we will coordinate with other entities when appropriate to help care for the trees and the landscaping installations that we have. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Do you have any questions regarding the trees and the discussion we had from the members of the public and this proposal, this discussion? Presentation.
I do, Governor. This is Controller Byrne.
Go ahead, Controller.
Is this just in Southern Nevada, or do we look at the trees in the right of ways for Northern Nevada or in the rural areas?
Thank you. I appreciate the question. My presentation was focused on Southern Nevada because of the public comment, but our landscape and aesthetic master plan covers the whole state. So yes, we do have landscaped areas you may have seen on all of our interstates and even some of our local roads. And we do have similar challenges with maintenance and upkeep statewide. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Any more questions on this? Is it possible to outsource more of this? Since we have a labor problem anyway.
We are outsourcing as much as we can. As you know, we often bring agreements. I don't know that we've fully outsourced this, but I know we are working on outsourcing almost as much as we can. You know, the interesting thing, we're about to have a presentation on salaries, is when the more we outsource, the more we have an internal morale issue as they are working side by side, often with some of our contractors that are doing this outsourcing. So it is something that we try to provide a balance on, really working to figure out how do we best use the taxpayer dollar, because when we outsource, it costs us a lot more than when we provide it in-house. It's a balance point.
Okay. Any more questions on this item?
Yes, Governor, this is Gary Perea.
Go ahead, Director.
I just wondering if there was any consulting with Southern Nevada Water Authority about the irrigation and the best way to do the irrigation.
I'm not sure that exists, but I promise that it will if it doesn't already.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Okay, we're going to close that item, move on to item number 20. Information on department salaries.
Deputy Director Derek Tedford.
Thank you. As requested by Board Member Cow, we prepared the following presentation on NDOT employee salaries. As you know, NDOT's activities are guided by the goals of the One Nevada Transportation Plan and the many related performance measures which have been established, approved regularly by the board, and submitted annually to the legislature. Success in these goal areas depends on the hard work of nearly 1,900 full-time team members and up to 300 seasonal workers, both winter and summer. Before the recession in 2008, normal vacancy rates at NDOT hovered around 5%, or approximately 95 positions. The number of vacancies has grown since the pandemic to over 400 in the height of the 2022 summer construction and maintenance season. In addition to others, this number includes 23 accounting and administrative positions, 64 engineering technicians who work on construction crews and in testing labs, and 194 maintenance worker 3s and 4s, the heart of maintaining safety and preservation of our roadways. Also shown is the vacancy rate per seasonal workers. In the past, NDOT has benefited from a robust group of seasonal workers. Seasonal workers augment summer maintenance duties and winter snow removal operations to keep our roadways clean and safe. The number of these important workers has declined to this year's vacancy rate of 271 out of 300, a 90% vacancy rate. In full-time positions, experience levels have also declined drastically, While NDOT has been able to fill some positions, there's been a more drastic decrease in overall years of experience. This further affects the department's ability to reach our goals and keep the public safe. Based on information the department has gathered from other public agencies in Nevada, such as the RTC, City of Las Vegas, City of Reno, and others, this chart illustrates how salaries for the department team members have fallen behind. While the department has focused many approaches to recruiting and retaining team members, it has become apparent that competitive salaries are a very important aspect. To understand the magnitude of the chart, here's a sample of the average salaries of selected NDOT team member positions versus their counterparts in other Nevada public agencies. The salary shown is the average of the low and high pay scale of the positions. Shown here is the difference in cumulative cost of living allowance raises by NDOT and Social Security for comparison. This graphic does not intend to suggest that prior to 2007, NDOT and Social Security wages or rates were equal. It's merely a comparison of raises since 2007. Since 1983, Social Security cost of living allowances raises have been based on increases in the Consumer Price Index. The information on this slide shows the impact of the high number of vacancies. Due to shortage of NDOT team members, the department must hire consultants and contractors to keep our roads clean and safe. The expenses shown here are not the full amount spent on consultants and contractors, only the amount which can be attributed to vacancies. Other municipal agencies, such as the cities, counties, and the RTCs, are the main competition for hiring NDOT team members. Based on analysis of salary and benefits, it appears that lower salaries offered by NDOT is the main reason for the increased vacancy rates. Shown on the bottom half of this slide are rough estimates for salary increases for NDOT team members. It's estimated that salary increases would reduce vacancies and increase our capacity to do the work, therefore reducing the need for consulting and contracting out the work listed. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Director, did you want to add anything before I go to the board?
I think Darren said it all, or said what we're going to present at this point. I'm happy to answer any further questions.
Okay, I'll open to the board members.
Darren, first off, thank you for putting that report together. I think that the numbers in themselves are kind of eye-opening. I'm wondering if it's possible to put something together for a solution for the board for next meeting. I'm happy to work with you if it's so appropriate in order for the board to vote on it.
Okay, I got to get, the board can't vote on increasing salaries.
No.
So
I'm saying to bring forward an agenda item.
A resolution to pass to the legislature.
you want to explain where we stand on this now so that the board understands that their authority here is extremely limited?
Yeah.
Other than making a recommendation, which would require either action in the next legislature or a special session prior to the next legislature. If it's during the legislature, the raises wouldn't take effect until next July. And the information I'm getting from the director is they don't have enough people to plow the snow necessarily this year.
So to clarify, as I understood Member Calv's request, I think he was looking for a resolution to provide additional information and support to the legislature, recognizing that the board can't make the change, but the board would be able to weigh in on behalf of the department with the legislature, I believe is the request.
That's correct.
So the resolution could.
Okay, but I don't know what you're going to have a resolution asking for. If you're going to ask for salary adjustments in the next legislative session, we're going to include that in our budget. But the problem is it will not take effect for 9 months, 8, 9 months. And I'm being told that that is a crucial situation that we can't wait until next July because we're losing people so quickly. So the only other alternative, and correct me if I'm wrong here in going through this because we put in countless times and I still have the scars and the bruises for even suggesting this, that there is salary savings that could be allocated that would require a special session. That would require that the Assembly and the Senate agree to that this is a priority issue and they would take action quickly and smoothly in any potential special session. So that's kind of where we're at. So resolution, I don't know what's going to do other than tell the legislators we really want to do this. I mean, but I've spoken to everybody, so.
I just wonder if there would be, I shouldn't, I'm not a member of the board, but if there would be value in the members of the board actually weighing in as well to support the budget requests that you're putting together.
That would help for your budget request for next year. But that budget will be submitted and it'll be made public at the end of December and it'll be submitted in February and discussed by the legislature and then signed by the incoming governor next June. So, no, you're going to continue this until next June and I don't know how low it's going to get. These vacancies are only going to go up.
Right.
Governor, if I may, Virginia Valentine for the record, as I understood Director Cal, and I agree with his intent here. It sounds like listening to you and to Director Swallow that there are some options, there's some interim measures, there's a longer term solution. You know, I don't know how much of this is a result of the salary constraints imposed on coupling of state salaries to governor's salary. Which I appreciate you haven't really been getting.
I haven't taken a salary, thank you, yeah. But this doesn't, this.
Right, no, I understand, but
that is not affecting this.
Right, oh, I know.
Yeah.
But I think if I understand Member Cal, to bring back what those options are, and if there is something that we as directors can do to encourage, to underline the importance of this issue to the state, to the state legislature, whether that's an interim allocation, a reallocation of funds to salaries, or a longer term solution of budgeting to increase salaries. I don't want to speak for Director Cal, but I would be supportive of having something come back where we could actually discuss the various options that you've mentioned.
Well, I think there's enough flexibility under this agenda that we have here to make a discussion. I mean, you're down to weeks left, and correct me, Christine, if I'm wrong here, Director, but this is what you and I have talked about this numerous times. And those are the two potential. What is a long-term solution? This is not exclusive to NDOT.
No.
Okay, I mean, this is exclusive to state police, to probation, to my office, every office in the world. State employees are grossly underpaid when compared to the private sector and to other governmental sectors. There's no doubt about it. The director's salary is woefully low compared to other people of her responsibility. That being said, we can address some of that in a budget recommendation, but that's longer term. And I'm being told we can't wait if you're talking about roads not being able to be plowed in a month because we don't have enough people to put on the plows. I don't know what happens then.
So I guess.
Well, I don't, Virginia, again, this says information only, so I'm not sure that we can take.
We can't take a vote, no.
Action. But I think if you are, proposing some interim concept, I don't think there's anything that would stop us from saying we think that's a good idea without a vote, or unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, no, we don't have a DA here and AG here.
Oh, actually, Dennis Gallagher and Lori Story are both up in our Carson location, and they could weigh in about what level of action you can take.
Can we continue a discussion without taking any vote or any action or resolution?
For the record, Dennis Gallagher, Chief Counsel. Yes, Governor, you can have the discussion and direct staff to bring something back to the board at its next meeting or thereafter.
Okay, well, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think I am. The budget that will be submitted next year will address salary studies and raises across the board for state employees because they're woefully underpaid. But this is more, as it was described to me by the director, of an emergency situation, because we're not talking about, you know, painting this, doing some striping or, you know, fixing a pothole on the side of the road. We're talking about, she's representing that there might not be enough people to plow roads. Now, that's pretty severe. I don't know what happens if you close the roads. I don't, what do you do?
If we don't have enough people to plow, we will allow the roads to be closed until we can get them clear and they're safe to drive.
And the only way that can be resolved is to go through what would be addressed at the legislature would be a new allocation of state revenue to fund these potential raises. The other solution is because of this vacancy that exists, which is so enormous, there's an enormous amount of salary savings that goes with that situation. So she's got money she's sitting on. That money will revert to the general fund. So it's not going to be able to be used then. Then it would have to be done the first way through the legislature. Because she has that salary savings, the legislature, if called in, could potentially say you can use those salary savings to bump up these salaries. But that would require a special session.
Governor, is there a way that the board could support you in your efforts right now in the next 6 weeks?
To have a special session? I'm not worried about the political ramifications of a special session. I'm worried about, I have to have a legislature that says, hell yeah, this is a big problem. Now, you got all kinds of, talk to leadership, you got all kinds of new people in the legislature that don't know what NDOT is, much less what this problem is. I don't have an answer. There hasn't been a groundswell of like, heck yeah, let's get up there and do this. But
given that Director Swallow has characterized this as an emergency, is there anything that you could recommend to the interim finance committee that would be helpful?
we could recommend allocation. I don't believe that we've been told that the IFC would have the authority to release the salary savings to provide for raises. And then once the legislature meets, then you don't have IFC. So I don't know what you're going to. Randy, go ahead.
I think we should take a discussion for right now and revisit a bit later.
We're happy to retain business later, but we're running out of time. That's the problem.
I know.
We're in a real.
You know, frankly, I can't think of a better reason to have an interim finance committee if they can't address emergencies. So you know, if that's not an option, you know, I don't know what else is. I understand what you're saying about trying to address in the budget. And I'd say, at least on behalf of me, I'm very supportive of doing that because the salary problem it's huge and has implications to not just maintenance, but workforce and just getting things done generally. So, and especially if it's frustrating to hear that there is money there that could be used for this purpose.
How much money is in your salary savings?
I don't have that off the top of my head, but and I don't know if she will. Is Felicia Denny in the room up, Assistant Director of Administration? Darren Cole, is she in there?
Oh, she isn't, unfortunately.
We can get that information right after this board meeting, but it is far more than $30 million.
And I know that Kevin Benson, your general counsel, and your chief of staff are working to figure out, exhaust all options right now. So we're trying to figure something out.
I think the request, though, was from Member Kalb was, is there a way the board could support and send a message?
We can't, according to legal counsel, take a vote to support, but it's obvious listening to the testimony that the board is unanimous in supporting. We just don't know what there is that could be done. And I will, as soon as I leave here, I go back to the office, we'll talk to my chief again and talk to legal again. And I've been led to believe through the discussions we've had, and the director and I, to her credit, has been advocating for this for a long, long time. But it can only be done certain ways. This board doesn't have the authority to say, look, you're not paying these people enough. That's why you've got a vacancy. And I respect what you're saying. I agree with you 100%. It's only getting worse between now and January, February, March.
Yes.
You're going to lose a couple more. You're going to lose along the way. That's inevitable.
Governor, our next board meeting is scheduled for December 12th. If we had a board meeting between now and then, I don't know how, if we could even do that. Would that be helpful to just specifically address this issue?
Well, why don't we get with the chief and my legal and Kevin and see what can possibly be done either at that meeting or right before that meeting. Yeah, I'm happy to come to a meeting anytime we call a meeting. I know this board is happy to get together again to address this issue. The issue is that once you get the legislative session, IFC loses a lot of its authority because you got a whole legislature then. Disapprove. So why don't we continue offline the discussion with you and Ivana and Kevin and see what could be done and try to talk to the legislature.
Governor, this is Gary Perea.
Yes, sir.
I fully agree and understand, what you were saying is that this really is a state issue. All these other, areas and departments in the state are facing the same issues. And if we have a special session, it comes down to whether the money's there to solve these problems. And I'm not sure that it's there. One of the things I wonder about, I think we should go ahead and move forward and try and do that. Maybe have a special meeting possibly. But I also wonder, is there something that we as NDOT can do within the agency to restructure that would help the situation? Whether having more of the, maybe changing some of those seasonal positions into full-time, or I'm just, is there something that we can do within the agency that is within our authority that would help the situation?
If I may, Governor?
Please.
This is Kevin Benson for the record.
Oh, Kevin, you're great. Okay, go ahead, Kevin.
General Counsel for the Governor. And so just to clarify, the request, as I understand it, would be to direct staff to bring back to the next meeting a proposed or draft resolution, which the board would then vote on. It would be agendized as an action item and so forth at that next meeting. And if it meets the board's approval, for the board to vote on it to essentially urge the legislature to increase staff salaries. And as you mentioned, they wouldn't go into effect right away. It would take until the next fiscal year. But I think that the presentation that we saw shows that this is a long-term problem and it's going to need a long-term solution. So essentially the request is essentially support from the entire board to urge the legislature to address that underlying problem. And I've been working very closely with Director Swallow and other cabinet members to explore all the options that we might have during the interim to address this in the short term, because it's also a short-term process. And we continue to explore those options as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions. And
the analysis that you put across that's correct. So the long-term problem, but also the short-term problem of what we are going to do this winter with pushing the snow out of the way is a concern.
Okay.
Why don't we do this? We can agree to just end the discussion. We'll have a meeting with you and Kevin and Ivana and myself, and whether it's at the next meeting, which is wherever it was, December 10th or 11th, or we could call a meeting prior to that to address one issue, if somebody can find a solution or a way out of this. But understand, in fairness, NDOT thinks this is an emergency, and it is. But every other department thinks their salary situation is an emergency as well. So it's a lot bigger than just NDOT. You know what I mean? I've got it with the state police, I've got it with patrol and probation, I've got it with a lot of our public safety groups. Is that good?
That's good. We'll have a conversation and we'll figure out if we need to have a special meeting of this board, if that would be helpful. If not, we'll figure out what's best for the December 12th agenda.
Okay. Is the board understand? We're heading with order. Okay. Any further comments from board members?
I have a comment, Governor, or a question. On the snow removal, is the equipment there and it's idle because we don't have qualified staff?
Yes, in some cases, the equipment there is there and it's idle. In some cases, I don't even want to say it this way, we benefit from the fact that our equipment is so old, nobody could operate it anyway because it's down. We have a problem with our equipment as well. But in many cases, it is that the equipment is available and it's idle. And or our team members are doing heroic efforts and working far beyond what would be considered appropriate with the limited staff we have. I have team members, I'm going to talk about a place in District 3 on I-80, the Emigrant Pass, where those team members will work 14, 16-hour shifts to make sure we don't have to close I-80 because they don't ever want to close I-80. I'm like upset about this because they're putting their lives at risk to keep that road open. And I've told them that stops this year. I don't want to ever have to call one of their family members because they had so much pride in their work that they put their life at risk. I don't ever want to have to do that. And so it is possible that this year we will close I-80. We don't close I-80. In the 4 years I've been here, we haven't closed I-80. California closes I-80, Utah closes I-80, Wyoming closes I-80. If we have to, we will. And it could be I-80, it could be 580. It could be 93 or 95. Last winter, 2021, in January or February of 2021, we had a storm event that crossed the whole state. Mario was seeing snow just north of here at Lee Canyon and Kyle Canyon, and it went all the way from Kyle and Lee to the Reno and further north. It was snow there's no way he could shift crews to help the people up north because he needed every man and woman behind a plow that he had here in District 1. We will allow roads to close. We don't do that. That is not something we do at NDOT, but we will because I need to keep them safe.
You do have authority to outsource. You can't really outsource snow removal.
It's really hard to outsource snow. It's really hard to outsource snow removal. Some other departments do, and it is something that we're leaning into for future because there just are events that we need that. But it is very hard. There's insurance issues in terms of them operating our equipment because they don't have their own equipment. And then there's also, it's amazing. My very first day when I started, Governor, I don't know if you remember, we had to send people home that day because it was such a big snowfall event. And I was in a plow that morning and I was asking the crew about it, and they spend months learning the corridors that they plow because they need to know where the mailboxes are, where the drop inlets are. You can't just say, I don't have someone to do this, it's your turn. It's not like running a relay race. You actually have to have training on our corridors. And so it's not an easy thing to outsource. Other states do it. We're going to lean into it, but it's too late to lean into it at this point. And as you see, we have so much else that's contracted out. It's not most efficient for the state, the use of the state taxpayer dollars. So we're trying to figure that out. And this year, if we need to, we'll allow roads to close.
Okay. Anybody else before we move on?
Governor, if I may, this is Cole Mortensen, Deputy Director. I wanted to provide a little bit of backup information on the actual salary savings available, the question that was asked earlier. We don't have the exact data up to date for this year, but for fiscal year 2020, we were consistently at about 64 to 66% of what our budgeted salary was as far as what we had spent. So that leaves about a third of our budgeted salary. In 2022, that equated to about $44 million.
Okay, thank you, Cole, appreciate it.
Governor, your microphone is muted.
I can have Randy come sit up here. She's got this done. I've unmuted my microphone. Okay, we have heard the presentation on salary savings. We do not have an executive session, so we'll move into second public comment, item number 22. Anyone wish to address the board on any item under our jurisdiction, please step forward, identify yourself for the record, and comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anybody in Las Vegas for this? We'll do Las Vegas first.
The happy appreciative group here. Mrs. Green is on. Good morning. My name is Teresa Bell, B-E-L-L, and I'm on the executive committee of the Sierra Club, Southern Nevada. And with me is Linda Stout. She is also on the executive committee with the Sierra Club, and she's also on the Environmental Justice Committee. And then we have Dr. Joanne Leovi, and she's with the Nevada Clinicians for Climate Action and the Citizens Climate Lobby. And our urban forester, Lisa Ortega, who brought this to our attention, could not be with us, but she submitted some comments previously. And we would really just like to thank you all very much for such a quick reaction to our comments in September. We couldn't believe that it was like we came up and spoke and we moved forward with this. So you guys moved forward with this so quickly. So we're very appreciative for taking action on the trees along the freeway off-ramps that were dying and were dead. And specifically the right-of-way near Chaparral High School that needed new trees and irrigation. And even more appreciative that you put this on your agenda. As we spoke before, we talked a lot about the health issues, and we were very happy to see that in the presentation that we all realized that there are real health issues to planting trees. And so one of the things that just came up recently, you know, the scientists at Desert Research Institute found that heat-related deaths in Clark County has significantly increased over the last few years due to increasing heat caused by climate change. So more trees along our freeways will be a powerful natural solution to help mitigate urban heat island effect, alleviate pollution for people who live nearby, and as you mentioned, that trees take out carbon dioxide, which curbs the impact of climate change. And one of the things that came up in the presentation was about the SNWA, and they just had a drought meeting, and one of the things that they addressed was that they have full support for trees, that they understand the importance of trees, and providing water for trees, that's different than grass. And so this powerful combination of public benefits explains why lawmakers put billions of dollars in the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and the Inflation Reduction Act for nature-based and equitable climate solutions. With the bulk of the funding going to highway programs, we request that the funding incorporate appropriate tree planting and maintenance in areas most affected by urban heat island and poor air quality concerns. We need to invest in neighborhood heat resilience, including trees, pool paving, community preparedness, and other heat inventions. And we would just like to let you know that if there's any way that we could assist you or be involved in this process, that we would be happy to do this. And something that I had gone to a meeting and it came up, in the Federal Highway Administration, there's a $3 billion total for the Department of Energy. And in the bill language, it says there's $1.9 billion for competitive grants to improve walkability, safety, and affordable transportation, and to build and improve complete streets, multi-use trails, regional greenways, and active transportation networks. This includes noise barriers reflecting surface transportation related to air pollution, reduced management, stormwater runoff. And it also includes identifying, monitoring, and assessing air quality, emissions, transportation, hotspot areas of extreme heat, elevated pollution, gas, and flood prone. So I'm hoping that I'm assuming you guys, if I know this, you know this, but I'm hoping that we will take full advantage of these grants, and some of this money will come for planting trees and the water and irrigation.
Very good. Thank you for your comments. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you too.
Thank you again. Anyone else in Las Vegas for public comment? No? Okay, we'll move up north.
Good morning, Governor. We have more than 15 public comments here in Carson City, and if I may, in an effort to facilitate these comments, that we'd like to ask to keep a line of about 2 to 3 people on the left side of the room behind the podium and approach the podium one at a time, state your name, provide your comment. And if I may ask as well, considering the number of public comments, if your comment is reiterating someone else's sentiments, please feel free to say so, and thank you. Please approach the podium.
Thank you, Governor and Board of Directors. For the record, my name is Janet Murphy, and I'm sure you're familiar with me. I'm also here about the Highway 50 East corridor. And as you know, I was supposed to be working with your staff, and they had come up with a plan. So what we have done is we went to our experts ourselves, and I'm sorry you're not here today. But one of your Board of Directors is here, and she has all the information in front of her. We did come up with an alternative. And like I said, we did our studies, we did it with our experts, and I've also confided in with Darren, who's your second in command here at NDOT, and on how to narrow the roads, how to keep it safe, because as you know, the company or the district that I represent, Tahoe Douglas District, is a utility district, and we're all about safety, health, and welfare of the people. I sit at Dead Man's Curve 30 years, my office, serving Tahoe Douglas District and its citizens of the township. And also I wanted to, I gave you a copy of, which you already seen today, a plan of NDOT with the reduction, but they did not mention today also, your director, was the fact that what they're doing, they're substituting one of those lanes and turning it into a 10-foot walking bicycle trail path that is not continuous through the whole entire plan. There's 3 breaks in it, so it's not continuous. So the plan is incomplete right now, and I know they're still working on it, but they said they're going to try to continue that path in a future date. But in our proposal, if you look it over, and I'd be more than happy, you can call me, talk to me, email me, and I'll go over the plan, but it reduces the lanes, it reduces the speed, safetiness also, and it gives this, our plan also has a center lane through the entire corridor, which allows people for separation of oncoming traffic, as well as allowing people to have the advantage of passing if somebody blows a chain in the wintertime. Also in your plan, the NDOT plan also has a K-rail, which is a Jersey barrier. California calls it K-rails. And what that is a concrete barrier between the 10-foot walking trail and the single lane. There's many issues with that. One is you have stormwater on the side. How are you going to, now you're diverting the stormwater of all your drainage that you put in. Also, I wanted to put, I looked up NDOT, you have here passing and climbing in your study here from NDOT says lack of passing opportunities can increase unsafe passing movements. Increases in unsafe passing movements result in increased crashes. So there's a conflict. There's also photos in here that shows just the other day when there was one lane, the traffic backed up. Also another one in here of the snow with one lane. And also what I did is I incorporated a nice picture of Lake Tahoe that we all want to achieve. Thank you for your time. Please call me, and I want to be involved. I know they say they're not done. From what I was told yesterday, is that NDOT is going to be looking at this alternative, and I appreciate that sincerely, and I would love to work with them because nobody knows that highway than the utility district. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
Okay, my name is Robert Byron. It's B-Y-R-E-N for the record, and I'm a retired engineer. I live in the corridor that Janet was just speaking about, and very much support the alternative plan that she proposed. I've been to all of the public listening sessions. There were 3 of them. There was one more like a public hearing at the beginning of this. And, you know, my comment on that is it sounds like, you know, they did a lot of listening, but not a lot of hearing and not a lot of taking into account the comments from the residents, the Douglas County staff and others. You know, we live in a destination resort. Okay, there are 15 million folks that come to enjoy the lake up there. It raises our local population from about 40,000 to over 300,000 people. Now, to put that in perspective, that's a population that's 5 times that of Carson City and about 2/3 the population of Metro Reno. Okay, reducing the lane on that critical, the number of lanes and the size of the lanes on that critical freeway is going to do exactly what the the members of the study are recommending it's going to slow down traffic. And I'm looking really at the peak traffics here, not the averages, okay? And we have a tremendous traffic jam on the major holidays and big events that occur up there, okay? The numbers I'm talking about doesn't really reflect the additional traffic by people that are coming up to work in the lake from Carson Valley, okay? Or the fact that we now have a new event center going in, which is going to add, 6,000 seats to the area that's now the casinos. Plus, we have a new hospital going in that same spot, okay, with all the emergency vehicles and staff and patients that are visiting. That is certainly going to create congestion, but the slowdown is also going to create a problem in air pollution. Now, we live in an environment, okay, you've got the cold lake, you've got these steep sidewalls of 4,000-foot mountains around it, and you've got the warm air coming from the top from the Central Valley of California, okay? That is a temperature inversion, okay? Temperature inversion holds in pollutants, okay? And if you look in the summer months, the air quality is never more than unhealthful, okay? And usually much higher than that when we have smoke coming in from the California wildfires. Okay, so you're just increasing that problem. And
Okay, if I could ask you to wrap up your comments, please.
I am wrapping right now. I don't have any more time, but I'd like to just say that there are a couple other problems and hopefully the others are going to address it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if I could remind everyone, because apparently there's not a buzzer up there to let you know when the 3 minutes is done. So someone up there can tell people at 3 minutes, we've got a lot of people who speak and I need to keep it to 3 minutes to be courteous to everyone, please. Thank you. Go ahead.
Governor, Board of Directors, Ellie Waller, W-A-L-L-E-R, Douglas County resident. Thank you for the opportunity to address US 50. I believe the huge time gap from 2017 to 2022 with no formalized or recorded public meetings with Douglas County needs to be taken into account. December 1, our Board of Commissioners will be provided an update from NDOT. I want to recognize Board Member Tarkanian is here today. He's also on our Regional Transportation Commission. I've been searching for a signed copy of the Corridor Management Plan Charter and discovered that signatures are still being collected as clarified by the coordinator. I'm urging the NDOT team responsible for the timeline to consider a deadline extension currently at December 31st. Consideration should be taken into account so Douglas County can hold their meeting and garner and capture public's comments to be incorporated into a formalized response to NDOT. The project charter is an agreement between the project sponsor, NDOT, and agencies, Douglas County being one. How can the project charter not signed by all collaborating parties be in play? And how can NDOT project team propose a deadline without all those signatures? It has also been stated that there is revised as appropriate and beginning with each phase reports. Where can we find those reports so we can use those to provide comprehensive comments? The purpose of the charter is to document key agreements. I repeat, key agreements between the project sponsor and the people. Some of the issues, of course, evacuation. The Calder fire was national news. We had 30 plus miles of backup. Lots of people were left stranded. Understand response times to those people were as adequately provided. The two recent public listening meetings in October and November were also not recorded. For the record, I do not believe listening to our meetings with NDOT, TRPA, consultant Wood Rogers provides adequate or accurately represents the public's interest. Potential issues are the roundabout at State Route 28 and Highway 50, who supports, who does not. Roundabout at 207 Kingsbury Grade, who supports, who does not. It was stated that there is a disparity in the support for the lane reductions. All these things need to be discussed in detail, and Douglas County, I do not believe, has been heard. Some of the other issues is the TRPA circumnavigation of the lake bike lane. I'm sorry, there are some areas on the lake that should not be navigated by a bicycle. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today, and I will close before my 3 minutes.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker, please.
Governor Sisolak, Board of Directors. For the record, my name is Beth Wallace, W-A-L-L-A-C-E. I've been a resident of Zephyr Heights for the past 10 years. I'm also here to talk about the corridor, the East Shore corridor, but specifically, I would like to talk about the process that was used to elicit public input, and then what I consider the disregard for concerns that the residents brought forth. In 2017, DOT reps hosted an event at Zephyr Cove Elementary. It was well publicized. I think DOT expected 50 residents to show up. Over 200 were present. After the meeting was open to public comment, folks showed strong opposition to traffic lane reduction. Almost all comments were directed in that way. The messages were testy, they were loud, and they were clear. And I'm sure it became clear that you never wanted to repeat that kind of open forum again. In 2021, we received postcards from you stating, and I'm going to quote, "We heard you. We're starting with a clean slate. We're ready for your feedback." We were given opportunities to show up at different venues and give written comments. All of the people that I know wrote the same comment: reduce traffic, or do not reduce traffic lanes. In March of 22, we had another opportunity to come to a listening tour. We were given sticky notes and we were allowed to place them on maps. When I left, I suspect that there were about 50 sticky notes left on those maps, most of them with no lane reduction as their message. You also gave us a comment form. I indicated I'd like to talk to someone from the project. I never heard from anyone. 2 weeks ago, we were given another opportunity to show up with final recommendations. I heard one representative say, "Oh, the response was 50-50. I do not believe that. Another issue is that these outreach sessions have been held in winter and late fall, when half of our residents have migrated to warmer climates. Thank you. We are the residents of this corridor. We should be the biggest stakeholders. I encourage you as directors to revisit the process, take a serious look at the concerns of the residents, host open forum meetings, and slow down this timeline to
Thank
allow
you for
for
your comments. I
public
appreciate
comment.
it. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Governor, and everybody else. I don't know you, but thank you for listening to me today. My name is Debbie Ledbetter. I live on Highway 50 at just past Cave Rock. And those of you who do not know me, I am the one that does the decorations each holiday. You're welcome. I do live right off the highway, and I have a lot of concerns. I've just finished an approximate $1 million project of putting in roads and drainage and access to Highway 50. I was told by NDOT that I had certain things that I had to do, TRPA, everybody gave me their comments. One of the things from NDOT that I want to mention is that I did put in for this project in August 2018. I just now received a letter telling me, after much hardship on my project, that I have to now go through a different corridor of a division that is called the Stormwater Prevention Plan. I'm really concerned about that because I cannot hook directly into the main water power, everything off of Highway 50 with having this done. And unfortunately, I didn't see any of this on any of the plans that was presented at the meetings that we've had. Now, I too have pictures of the one-lane highways with accidents and road problems, and it's dangerous. It's a very dangerous area to have the bikes, the cars, the construction, the size of those trucks going in and out of the roads is, I don't know how you would do it with just 3 lanes. So I do support Janet Murphy 100%. I don't think the bike trail should go through there. I think that we should consider a different alternative, possibly above Hidden Woods. There's already trails up there available, and it would make a perfect sense for a biker to be able to drive above Lake Tahoe and have beautiful views, and it could quite possibly be a great fire break for us, should there ever be an escape fire again coming into our beautiful Lake Tahoe. And so with that, I just want you to reconsider doing anything on this plan until you have met with everybody in Lake Tahoe. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Hi, my name is Dominic Ongles. I'm a resident of Douglas County, and I have multiple members of my extended family who live on or directly adjacent to this Highway 50 corridor. My understanding is that the main intent of this proposal was to increase safety on the Highway 50 area. This plan is likely to have the exact opposite impact. As has previously been mentioned, the Caldor fire demonstrated that the carrying capacity of this road is not currently enough, and reducing the carrying capacity of that road is likely to have horrific consequences should there be another natural disaster or fire in the future. As was previously mentioned, Highway 80 is often closed in the winter months because of snow. If Highway 80 is closed during the winter months, Highway 50 becomes the main arterial road across the Sierras. If that road is closed and the capacity of Highway 50 is diminished, it is likely to become a standstill and traffic will not be able to pass across the Sierras, creating a substantial safety issue. If the road is narrowed, traffic density is likely to increase, making left-hand turns across the highway much more difficult. This increases the likelihood of rear-end accidents as cars wait on the highway to turn left, and there are hundreds of driveways that this is likely to affect, and there are likely to be hundreds more accidents a year. Furthermore, by narrowing the road, you bring oncoming traffic closer together. This is problematic in winter months when the road is icy and increases the likelihood of head-on collisions with catastrophic consequences. Furthermore, having a bike path on the road is likely to increase further collisions with bikes and cars. As a former professional triathlete, I've been unfortunate enough to see the firsthand consequences of this, including death, paraplegia, and serious irreversible facial injuries. Having bikes traveling in both directions is very difficult for drivers turning left across the highway to see, and is likely to result in increased T-bone collisions with cars and bikes. As Debbie Ledbetter previously said, a much better location for that bike lane is to go directly from Spooner Summit to Kingsbury Grade and Kale Park at an increased elevation. The vistas from that point are substantial and would provide great value to all residents utilizing the bike path and would have no impact on safety. That land is already owned by the state of Nevada and would be perfect for that situation. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any more?
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Kirk Ledbetter, and I'm a resident of Zephyr Cove, Glenbrook area. Good morning, Governor, and the Transportation Board of Directors. I've been in the Lake Tahoe area my entire life, and I'm very familiar with snow removal. Today you just heard a report about plowing budgets, and possible not being able to use all those plow trucks and plow drivers. During that report, you heard the importance of the plow drivers understanding the road and what's occurring and where the boundaries are, what not to hit on each side and where to start plowing in the middle. Nevada has always done a much better job of plowing than California. Going into Lake Tahoe on US 50, California just plows it into the middle. There's no middle turn lane until they get the trucks to clear it. Nevada has a different approach. The plows either go in tandem, 2, plow from the middle out, or 3, they have a cleaner truck or plow that drops back and catches that debris that's on the side in the back, clears it off. Most of it goes off into the areas that need drainage treatment. What's going to occur if they block those sides and put a bike lane, pedestrian lane there, and then put this barrier or K-wall, is the snow is going to pack in there. It's not going to melt right. It's going to melt in the day, freeze at night, creating more accidents. And it puts a huge burden on the plow drivers, how they clear it. Now they don't have as wide of a road. They have cars on that road when they're plowing, and they do a very good job right now. And I just don't want to see additional problems or dangers put out there. I'm not in favor of the bike road and the pathway being on the Highway 50 East Shore corridor. And I don't think a lane reduction is good, because when you're in a snowstorm up there, I know I'm almost out of time, it goes down to one road and you follow the tracks ahead of you, hoping that that person has done the right thing. And you drive as safely and at the right speed. So, you know, we want our plow drivers to do a good job. Don't put more barriers in their way. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Morning, Governor. Good morning, Councilor and the rest of the board. My name is Elizabeth Learnhardt. For the record, I live in Zephyr Cove. Today, I am here to voice my concern as an opposition to NDOT's I-50 lane reduction. It is premature and needs further discussion. You have clicked off all the boxes on your so-called outreach without meaningful engaging with major stakeholders along Highway 50. The Skyline GID, for example, where I live, has gotten approval by NDOT to rebuild their fence after 7 years of negotiation after the snowplow destroyed part of it. Yet the fence is absent in your proposal. We questioned you during November 3rd at the meeting and got 2 totally opposing answers, one of them leaving the fence in, the other one taking it out. You have not informed the Douglas County Debt Management Board about what this proposal meant, because they approved $800,000 for a loan on this fence. The Tahoe Douglas Fire Council was also not made aware of this I-50 lane reduction and how it would affect the public evacuation plan, nor was the sewer district, as Janet Murphy testified here. None of the other GIDs or businesses alongside the highway were asked how this change affects the runoff drainage already in place. You have not taken into account the commuters, our librarians, plumbers, electricians, etc., cashiers at the local Safeway. They all live down in the valleys. I don't believe 2 minutes is what will be added to their commute time. You haven't even asked them. The greatest public interest, though, is not that NDOT does not listen to their own data. I perused your webpage, which I highly recommend you to do because it's excellent. You have 40+ pages that tell you that number 1 cause of traffic accidents is intoxication. Number 2 is lane departure. Only number 3 is speeding. You look at the second part of it, you see that multiple lanes are much safer than 2 lanes. It holds true from fatalities, from injury crashes to all-cause crashes. And you also have the solution on that page, if you look at it, because putting a center stripe or divider in of some sort, like Janet Murphy suggests, reduces it in all categories. Fire safety is another great concern, as was brought up here. The Tahoe Douglas Fire Board has no idea about this plan. They were not informed. Does this committee really want to be on the record to create a death trap for its citizens, as did the City of Paradise in California in 2018? I leave you with that thought. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
My name is Ralph Miller, and I'm here representing the Cave Rock Estates General Improvement District. We have about 200 residents in our community. You may thank me that I have encouraged them not all to show up today because they really wanted to. They wanted you to hear from 200 separate voices that the community is enraged about the process and the plan that has been submitted. We have not been listened to, and the plan is absurd on its face. I went to the listening meetings and I asked, what does this mean based on average flows? What about during peak flows? What about during snow season? What about during high visitor season? And all they said was, well, we haven't studied that. This is a surface approach with a devastating recommendation. We do support the proposal set forth by Janet Murphy, which does allow for a center turn lane and does allow for speed reductions, but does not reduce lanes. It is truly breathtaking how this study has evolved over the years and the lack of listening to the residents of the community where all this is supposed to take place. We strongly oppose it, and it really needs a whole fresh slate, fresh look, more accurate analysis of the data. NDOT tells us there will be no congestion problem. The world's leading travel document, the Fodor Guide 2023 was just published. And guess who is on the list for the first time of communities not to visit? Lake Tahoe. And why? Congestion. Stay away, visitors. That's the message from Fodor.
Thank you for your comments.
I have a different topic, so if someone wants to.
Go ahead.
He's coming.
No. Go ahead, ma'am. You're fine.
Okay, my name is Carolyn Usinger, and during the past few years, I've picked up more than 150,000 pieces of trash along NDOT roads, highways 431, 28, and 50. For the most part, I have deposited the trash in IVGID, Incline Village General Improvement District, trash bins, even though much of the trash was collected outside their jurisdiction. On 2 major holidays, I deposited trash from NDOT roads into NDOT's trash bin, and I was given 2 citations by Washoe County deputy for illegal dumping. Apparently, I did not have the specific permission from NDOT. The citations required that I go to court. I went to court and the judge thanked me for my service and then ruled that I was guilty of 2 misdemeanors. NDOT has never told me that I could not use their bins. There are no signs. And for 6 weeks, I tried to get permission from NDOT. During that time, NDOT refused to talk to me until I had a permit to pick up trash. Their permit process for picking up trash requires a signature from Washoe County Sheriff, who will not sign the form. So I'm in a catch-22. I've been denied a permit to pick up trash, and I'm not sure whether that means that I can be arrested for doing it. Yet the trash continues to be dropped along these roads. NDOT needs to be part of the overall trash solutions along the Tahoe roads. The current NDOT solutions are insufficient given the amount of trash that I have picked up each week. NDOT cannot abdicate its involvement by having forms that send volunteers in circles. I now have a police record because of these games, when all I wanted to do was pick up trash along the Tahoe roads. I'm asking for NDOT to report on its role and responsibilities for cleaning up trash along these roads, and to participate in a collaborative team to find easy ways for the public to supplement these efforts so that the Tahoe roads are trash free.
Thank you for your comments.
Good morning, Governor and staff. My name is Philip Schloss, and I'm a resident of State Line, Nevada. And I'm in opposition to the road diet that you want to put us on. It seemed like if you wanted to do a real diet, the real diet should discourage visitors from coming to our beautiful place, because I'm not proud of the silver medal we got from Fodor urging people not to come and visit us. So the one thing that was not mentioned, and I hope you all come back to this and look, where what they do is they reduce 3 lanes. And actually what it is, it's 4 lanes to 3 lanes to 4 lanes to 3 lanes to 4 lanes to 2 lanes to 4 lanes. Well, those are all choke points. You can see without the choke points, what traffic comes to that. This is the Caldor fire. And look, and this was nationwide picture that it made. Look who's fiddling while Caldor burns, and we ought to get out of it. The other thing is, anybody think this isn't going to happen again? How much rainfall do we get? How full of timber is Christmas Valley? Let me ask you, put it to you another way. Would you get on an airplane with that kind of odds that you may crash? I don't know. I don't think I would be. The other thing, with regard to speed control, I did write to Ms. Swallow. I wrote to the director who passed on my my objections to this and I brought up this is not an NDOT problem. This is a law enforcement problem. So Governor, I don't know what you can do to increase the amount of highway patrol, or how you can work with Douglas County to get their sheriffs to patrol this. And the other thing that I thought, what I recommended is the flashing lights on the wrong way. Well, how about we put these on the speed limit signs to help out, to slow down people, to stop them. The other brilliant idea I heard that they use in South Lake, they put an empty car by a road. They want people to slow down. That's pretty effective. There's a sheriff who lives along the way where I go down to Minden. That slows me down when I see it. And he just lives there, and I know that. So that's another idea to think about, and that certainly is cheaper than this road diet you want to put us on. The other concern to me, there's no price tag on this in public or anywhere. There's no diet, there's no pro forma to show what the massive increase of visitors that the plan admits is going to happen at all to us. And let me see if there's one. Okay, well, with that, I'll cut my comments short. I think you get the idea, I think.
I do. Thank you for your comments, sir.
For the record, Jeannie Shizuru, SHIZURU. I am piggybacking onto some of the comments that the communication about the study plan has been insufficient by NDOT. I spoke to Scott Morgan, the project manager for Douglas County, yesterday, and he told me that the first time the board or public was told of these actual plans that everybody's talking about was October 27th. 22 days ago. That's insufficient, and without the proper engagement, public meeting where we got a chance to study it and talk about it, that just was not not fair to us. Even today, when we're making comments, as we have been doing in these last 22 days, it's at the opening comment section, the closing comment section. It's never been at a dedicated part of a meeting. Now, our commissioners are going to hold a meeting on December 1st, and we have urged them to not only give us our chance to find out about the study and give our comments, but that they would take action, take an up or down vote. And given the outcry from the Douglas County citizens, you might discern that the vote might go down in Douglas County, partly because we absolutely don't like the plan, but also, as I'm trying to tell you right now, I hated the process. This has been exacerbated by the fact that Scott Morgan told me yesterday that there have been meetings with our chair and vice chair and some of the people on the plan in secret, not openly told to the citizens, not openly told to our other commissioners. Now, that might not be illegal because you can be briefed, but any reason for not everybody, not for not knowing that they were getting updated by NDOT or other commissioners were not told, doesn't it just seem like an unnecessary cloak of secrecy, which has, in my opinion, exacerbated my frustration with how this process is gone. But that can be rectified if we do get our day and we do get an up or down vote by our commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Governor Sisolak, fellow board members, my name is Danny Tarkanian. I'm a Douglas County Commissioner. I wasn't going to speak here today because I'm still learning all these issues. I can tell you that on my 2 years here on the board, this is one of the most passionate and most number of people that have called me and talked with me about this matter. And there's certainly a lot of concern, as you've heard here. I've sat here today and I've learned a lot of stuff that I didn't know before. I would just caution this board before making a decision to get all the information, as I'm trying to do, before they make a decision. Janet Murphy introduced to me her proposal. We forwarded that to Scott Morgan, who's representing Douglas County, and he said that NDOT is looking into that. I hope they take the time to look into that before any decisions being made. I also wanted to come here, maybe the most important reason to come up here and speak today is I wanted to thank you, Governor Sisolak, for your 20 years of public service, many of which, particularly these last few years, have been very difficult. And I know how hard it is for you, and we're all very thankful. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate it.
Hello, Governor, and everyone else. My name is Craig Zager. I live in Zephyr Heights. I've been a local Douglas County, Lake Tahoe resident for 43 years. I'm an avid cyclist, so this is a double-edged sword for me to talk on this behalf of this new proposal that you're considering, but it's an absolute disaster to go from 4 lanes to 3 lanes or anything less. We know what the bottleneck issues are around Lake Tahoe. Highway 50 is the only 4-lane highway into the basin. There's 7 that encompasses Lake Tahoe, but Highway 50 is the super highway coming in with the safest possible way into Lake Tahoe and the worst of the conditions. To even fathomly think that you could take a 4-lane highway, that you brought up the comments of the population or the traffic count from 15,000 a day to 20,000 a day. And I can assure you the 20,000 a day in 19 has to have increased due to all the redevelopment that's happened in the South Lake Tahoe area and the Nevada communities as well. We've never seen more construction trucks going on year round, not just in the spring, summer, fall. So I'm very concerned with this. I don't imagine that it's going to pass because it just does not make sense funneling, bottlenecking traffic when you have the best highway into the basin. Back to the cycling, you know, the lanes right now are 13 feet wide. Most lanes around Tahoe are 11 or 12. There is room to take a foot to 2 feet off these lanes and create much safer cycling lanes. Lake Tahoe is a world-class cycling destination. Cyclists love it. It's also one of the most dangerous places you could ride if you choose to ride around the lake. And that's because between Spooner Summit, the top of Highway 50, to the state line corridor, California border, there are 21 different locations with guardrails that narrow the bike lane from a 3 to 2 down to less than 12 inches. You try to ride on these bike lanes when there's 2 cars in both lanes and they're passing you, they're risking your life, you're risking your life. That needs to be changed. And that's the, what are the strips called that vibrate? Rumble strips. There are no rumble strips on this bike lane that goes around the 13 miles from the top of Spooner Summit down to state line. We also need a widening of the lanes for the bikes. Just 2 feet would be wonderful. I thank you for your time. I had a lot more to say, and I look forward to more meetings because this cannot be swept under the carpet. We need a lot more investigation and discovery. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
That looks like it, Governor.
Okay, is that it? Anyone else for public comment in Carson City? No.
Not seeing it.